Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
So, I'll explain the reasoning for this subject coming up. Is, like I said just a minute ago, for patrons and Matthew, I went to Dollywood yesterday. Which is in Tennessee. It's in Pigeon Forge, Tennessee, which is like 6 or 7 hours from my house. On the way there, we saw quite a few Confederate flags, and then while just in general from North Carolina into Tennessee, we saw Confederate flags flying in quite a few places. And then we get to the water park yesterday, and there was quite a bit of Confederate flag wear there. Couple, some tattoos. There was a woman in a bikini that was literally Confederate flag on her butt, and she was like relatively attractive. Like, she was pretty attractive and blonde. And I'm like, well, of course you've never had any problems, so, and nobody else must have had any problems, so you just assume that it's all bullshit or whatever. I'm putting all this in there because I think pretty privilege really comes into conservatism quite a bit. I think that's why you get like Tommy Lawrence and stuff, is that like, I've never had a problem, so.
I don't think they want pretty privilege though, because they're all getting plastic surgery to look like butts. So
Yeah.
all the women in Trump circles seem to want to look like
Mar-a-Lago face.
What the hell is up with that?
So
they were pretty, and then they became monsters.
Yeah.
So I think he must have commented that he really enjoyed the Elephant Man movie, and they're like, "Well, we can all look like that."
So I that was the first thing, and then there was a guy with tattoos, and I'm not the only one who saw it. I kind of didn't trust that I understood what I saw correctly until one of my conservative friends who was with me called it out. He had the SS tattoo on his shoulder, and I was like, "Nah, that can't possibly be what that is." And then a few minutes later, one of my friends goes, they said, "There's a lot of Confederate flag stuff here." He goes, "I saw an SS tattoo like 3 minutes ago." I'm like, "I saw the same guy." Okay.
I got called out for being pro SS the other day.
Oh yeah.
At TFS, we have a meeting, and like we have a meetup, set of meetups we call Secular Saturday Socials.
Yeah.
And we want to move the Durham one to Sundays. And I was like, well, we can't call it Secular Saturday Social anymore, just Secular Social, and we'll just break down. And they're like, SS, Matthew, really? You want the abbreviation to be SS? I'm like, we never abbreviate. Like, we don't call it SSS. Like, but like something like, we can't have something where the abbreviation is SS. I'm like, maybe we can just call it HH. I mean, is that better? I don't understand.
Yeah. Okay. Keep in mind, everybody, that Matthew is Jewish. That is semi-important. And so.
So I want to write a book of my grandfather's stories, and I was thinking I can maybe read it in his accent to be an audio book of it, and I thought of making it into a one man play, like Play My Father. But I'm like, I'm thinking there may not be enough stories to justify a whole book from what I have. So I said, oh, well, maybe I can add some have my mother tell some of my grandparents' stories and put that in. And I said, oh, maybe I can get my wife to tell some of her parents' immigrant experience stories. I mean, technically my wife's an immigrant too, but I think the adult experience is more what I'm looking for. And then I was like, well, if I want to do an audiobook of that, I can't do my father-in-law's accent. That wouldn't work. He's Indian. I said, but my son can. I can have my son do an Indian accent because he's allowed.
I think it was, there's a comedian that did this, and I can't remember what it was, and I think they did it on The Daily Show based on this comedian's routine, but it was when you can't say the N-word, and then they would have a white guy saying, interviewing or whatever, and then whenever it was that N-word was needed to be said, he'd like point to the black guy who was just there to be like,
say the one word.
So he'd be like, "You know what I'm talking about, Mike?" And it was, and that is kind of feeling what you're talking about. Do the accent, Joseph or Jacob or whichever one you're talking about. Anyway, so yeah, I started thinking about hate speech when I was seeing all the flags. And
I went to Tennessee, and I started thinking about hate speech.
I actually love Tennessee geographically. It's nice. Also, we're in Dollywood, so like Dolly doesn't encourage that shit. Like, you can see that.
I noticed you said it was on apparel. It wasn't on any of the stuff at Dollywood.
Yeah. So I don't want it to be taken misconstrued by anybody as me thinking that Dollywood is racist. It's just like you could see that shit at Disney. You're a little less likely to see that shit at Disney, but you could see that shit anywhere. But it's significantly cheaper than Disney, and so and there's, I'm sure, less woke shit to be protesting. So like, yeah, it was.
Well,
they don't
know how woke Dolly is.
No,
and
and
they knew they would
absolutely.
protest.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm pro Dolly. This is not an anti Dolly.
I say hello, Dolly.
Yeah. Anyway, and also Dollywood is really fun and significantly cheaper and closer than Disney World. So, anyway, so I appreciate Dollywood, but so I saw all that stuff and I started thinking about it, and then I've been with everything that's been going on, and I know that like there is a lot of conflation between anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, which are not the same thing, but that doesn't mean they don't have some people who do both. There's been a lot of anti-Semitism going on in with everything that's in the world, and it is significant.
That is a
on the
timeless
right.
statement. You could say that anytime, anywhere.
Not pre-Jews. If I could go back to like caveman era, and there would be no anti-Semitism.
Ugg had big nose. No eat bacon. Weird guy.
Like fish on bread. They wouldn't call it a bagel. They wouldn't call it a bagel.
Like, it's a really weak description of a bagel and lox. Fish on bread. Yep, nobody else likes that. You never find anyone eat a fish sandwich. That'll never happen.
Anyway, so I was just thinking that like the hate speech is something that we should talk about because I feel like we haven't covered it, and it's coming. It's coming back. All the big trends, they always recircle. No, where it's
yeah. Well, I mean, I think we should be clear for our audience when we say hate speech, what we're referring to is what the Republicans call free speech.
Sure. And also, like, because I just mentioned the Confederate flag, sometimes speech isn't speech if like hate, just the way
expression. Speech includes other forms of expression,
right?
Interpretive dance, clothing, tattoos.
And when we're talking about free speech, hate speech, all these things, especially, I mean, I believe depending on how I forget the exact wording of the First Amendment, but the First Amendment is speech and freedom of expression. Yeah. So when we say First Amendment free speech, we mean expression as
but also we're not always talking about First Amendment because that merely means the government stopping.
Right. But I'm just saying like that style definition.
Yeah. Speech in the most general term, expressing yourself.
Yeah.
And, but the Republicans always, when they say they don't have a right to free speech and free speech is being censored, they mean hate speech. Because if you say what speech in particular can you not say, they will never narrow it down. It's certainly like, can you not talk about your anti-taxes? Can you not say your small government? Like, which speech do you mean? And they won't specify which speech because it's hate speech. That's also speech they can't say.
Also, you can say hate speech. Like you're there. I mean, there's certain contexts.
Not on all platforms. I think so. They complain like I can't go on Facebook and do this, and that's being censored. And you're like, well, depending how you determine the word censor, it's not being censored by the government. And because of freedom of speech, the platform has the right to censor you because that's their freedom of speech on their platform.
Yeah. And you can go out into the literal town square and say pretty much any word that you want. I mean, you can't call for violence, so certain framing can't be done, but you can go say the N-word if you want to say the N-word, but there may be social consequences. And that's the reality, and that has always been the reality. It's just that
there's always freedom of expression has always included time and place restrictions. There's always been some restrictions. Because there are profanity laws in some places, and so there are some things you can't say in a certain place and time. It doesn't mean you can't say it anywhere. You just can't say it in certain places.
Mm-hmm. And that has been the law for 249 years, or what? I don't know when the First Amendment was crafted, so I apologize.
Well, I'll say the First Amendment, when crafted, only referred to the federal government, not to the states.
Sure. Well, I was just saying, like,
until it was incorporated out to the states, and that would have been after the Civil War.
Okay, so anyway,
it became a state thing too. Yes.
But the idea of you can say anything you want basically has been around. Or you could say it. You know, the level of like, well, you might have social consequences. What words you're going to have social consequences for has changed over the last 249 years, but
Yeah.
the concept itself has not really changed. You know, and obviously platform. You know, technology has changed to make it different. You know, everyone has access to a printing
Everyone has a
press
megaphone.
now. Yeah. So we're all Gutenberg now. Steve Gutenberg.
Nobody knows who he is.
Um,
It's like the clip during like the fires and stuff where he was helping, and he's in the press interviewing because he's helping people get stuff out of their houses. And they go,
Yeah.
"And what's your name, sir?" And he looks at the reporter and goes, "Steve Gutenberg." Like the reporter had no idea who he was, just thought he was a random helper, which he kind of was, but had no idea who he was.
To be fair, it has been
No,
almost 40 years. Almost 40 years since he's been relevant.
I said nobody knows who he is. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
like,
I know who he is. I've seen Three Men and a Baby. I've seen he was in Three Men and a Baby, right?
He was one of the men.
I've seen
with Ted Danson
one of the police academies, both Cocoons. I am pretty well versed. I think I just named his entire filmography. I know it's not. He was also in a show. I'm totally spacing on the show. And recently he was in a show, but anyway. Yeah, so I don't even necessarily want to talk about...
you just got super loud for me all of a sudden. Why did that change? That was weird.
I don't know.
Now you're quiet.
Well, I did say that.
And now you went quiet. That was really loud.
Yeah, so I don't want to talk about hate speech as far as like the freedom of speech side of it. I want to talk about like the actual hate speech that's going on and the consequences that it is having
people
for
need
others.
To stop referring to you as Whitey the Blue-Eyed Devil. That is not fair.
Yeah. I want to talk about the consequences, not for the speaker, but what hate speech creates for consequences for, you know, if you're being anti-Semitic in your speech, what is the consequences to Jewish people?
What damage do you do in society?
Right, what damage do you do? Well, if you have a Confederate flag. Now, I actually think the Confederate flag is an interesting talking point. If you go back more than 10 years, so go back before it became kind of a renewed topic.
Well, can I just say first, because it's my pet peeve, when you say Confederate flag, you don't really mean the Confederate flag. You mean the battle flag of Virginia, that everybody refers to the Confederate flag, but it was not the flag of the Confederacy.
For a while.
It was one battle flag for one regiment. It was the battle flag of Northern Virginia. It was not the Confederate flag. That's
for a while, the "Don't
60s.
Tread on Me," the "Don't Tread on Me" flag was.
They had a couple of flags, but none of them were the one that we call the Confederate flag. That's the one that states started putting back out in the 60s in response to civil rights. And they would say, "Oh, it's our heritage. It's a heritage of hate speech," because that's the only reason it came back in use was to protest civil rights.
So I want to, if we can, for hypothetically for a minute, go back to pre-Trump. I'm
sorry, I just came.
So like say 2014, 2012, you know, roughly whatever. Before it was when the Confederate flag wasn't a huge talking point, because it is now, and I think so. Like, there's less of an excuse for what I'm about to say than there was for a while. You're right that the Confederate flag became a big deal in the 60s in response to the civil rights movement, as well as most of those statues came up that during Jim Crow or in the civil rights movement, and it was all symbolism to kind of be like, remember what we used to be, and like don't get too far away from it. Like
a lot of it was, we know the federal government is telling you that we're a place of equality now, but not in our state.
Right.
Like a lot of, like they added it to state flags where it had not been in state flags before.
Yeah.
Just to spite people.
So I think that, and I could be wrong, and you've been here a lot longer than me in the South, and I used to say this in the North when people would talk about the Confederate flag, but I think the lie about it being heritage has been going on so long that there are people who, for a while, were genuinely believing that.
100%.
And may have genuinely not been hateful people, just, you know, that's
people don't learn their history. They're
Right.
not taught the history, and so they think that was the flag, and it's been flown in the South before the war, after the war.
Yeah.
Like they have no idea that it was reborn in its current
Yeah.
use in the '60s. No idea why it was. Everyone started using it, so
Yeah.
they started using it.
So I
Bands
think
were using it and stuff.
Yeah.
Hell, the TV show Dukes of Hazzard.
Yeah.
It's on the side of on the roof of the General Lee. Nobody questioned it, and to be fair, they certainly didn't mean it as an unconscious hate message when they were doing that in pop culture.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But I don't know whether my black friends at that time were taking offense and just not saying anything because it was so ingrained in culture they didn't speak up. So I don't want to say it wasn't doing harm at the time because I don't know what people's reaction to it was.
But it wasn't intended.
It wasn't in mainstream media to say, "Oh, look at that hate symbol," like that.
Right.
People in mainstream white media certainly weren't saying it. I don't know what black media was saying.
Right.
What people were saying, but mainstream white media was not saying, "Oh, look, there's a hate symbol on the top of the General Lee."
Yeah, and so I think if you get someone who's my age that grew up down here, could very well 15 years ago have been flying that flag without hate in their heart. I think it's harder to make that argument now because it has been defined so clearly so many times.
I think there could be people who fly it without hate in their heart, but what they do have is disregard for other people. They know that, well, tell me, when black people see that, they think you're flying it because you're Nazi and you hate them. And their only response can be, I don't care what they think and I don't care how they feel. That's the only response, other than, yes, I am a bigot and that's why I'm flying it. But even then, it's because I want to make them feel bad. That's why I'm flying it. I mean, it's either I don't care that they feel bad. It's not my intent, but I don't care. Or that's my intent. Those are the only two answers at this point.
Yeah. Yeah. And back to, you said the thing about letting people know that this is from the civil rights or,
it was a response to civil rights.
Response to civil rights. Yeah. I don't mean to get that wrong. When I hear someone who I think is genuinely ignorant in the innocent way, not in the evil, hateful way. Because I've met people who are Northerners who don't fly it, who say, but I can understand because it's their heritage, or and I make the same point. I'm like, it was never a thing. Yes, I believe that people have been lied to, and some people believe that. That is not the case for most people. That's their heritage. Also, the swastika is people's heritage.
That's the thing. That has to be the instant response. So if you're of German descent, you can fly a swastika because it's literally the same message. It's just different target audience.
And I know that a lot of Americans
overlapping target audience, I should say.
I know that a lot of Americans don't want to hear what I'm about to say, and I would
Mike,
imagine
no one wants to hear what you say, quite frankly.
Well, I mean, our numbers show that.
And I'm on the podcast, and I really don't care.
But as much as I think that there potentially could be the argument made that American slavery was less malicious intent than Nazi Germany. Ultimately, we killed as many people in slavery, and we affected as many lives over a longer period of time. America, so it's not even the meaning's the same, but there's this much smaller impact that it's depicting. No, it's as big of an impact.
It was hundreds of years.
Yeah, hundreds of years, and at least 10 million. I know I've seen the number before. It's of how many people were affected, and I would say that even if you didn't kill a slave, if you owned a slave until their death, that is kind of the same thing. It's not the same level of malicious intent, perhaps, but those lives were lost to slavery, ultimately. And so you get the numbers being, pretty fucking high.
So a quick Google search, and this is the AI thing. So let's not say this is 100% accurate.
Sure,
but a good general. Approximately 4 million people were enslaved in the United States by 1860, representing 13% of the U.S. population at the time.
That's the number of people that were enslaved at the time, or up till? Because I thought the number was a lot higher than that, to be honest.
Maybe there were in 1860.
Yeah, that's what I think. I could be wrong, and
The way it's written, it could be just that was when we were alive at that time, but there could have been.
yeah, right. And and so I when I see the Confederate flag, I don't see it as I think that you and we obviously recognize that that's a lie, but you do get people who honestly and kind of earnestly believe that shit, and it's like, okay, well, it's not, and now and it is the same as flying a swastika in all reality. Like, I get that, like, some, like, even like I think if I saw
And you say, well, my grandfather really liked the swastika, and he didn't know it was a Nazi symbol when he was flying it, so it's okay.
I was going to say the one difference I think between the swastika and the Confederate flag is that while I have a visceral reaction to holy shit, that's a 50-foot Confederate flag, I think that my response,
you get all giddy when you see a swastika. You
no, I
really,
was going to
I
say
love it, I love it, I love it.
I was going to say I think my response would be significantly more intense if I saw a 50-foot swastika flying while I'm driving on the highway. You know what I mean?
Yep, and I'm specifically thinking, with the whole red and black color scheme, and very Nazi-ish look, because I've been in many Indian temples in my life, and different versions of the swastika, which the swastika comes from, are there. There's some that are reversed in orientation. Some are not reversed to it. Some are at a different angle, so it's not an X in the middle; it's more of a cross because they're turned a little bit. Some are not. There's all different variations
Yeah.
of it because it's a symbol that is can be
Oh,
spun
yeah.
many ways. So it's not like, well, I'm using old Indian imagery, and part of that imagery is swastikas. There's probably some in my house on art that we have.
Yeah.
It's the swastika. That's
Yeah.
specifically.
And I would, because I've seen, I mean, I haven't seen it probably nearly as much as you have, but I've seen the Indian version, the original.
And there are multiple versions. I guess there is not one version to say, well, oh, that's different because it's this. It can be, it's art. It's used in art all the time. It can be used in many orientations, so it can look the same, but it's not in a black circle on a white background with a red flag. It's not a swastika.
And in my life, I've seen the swastika, scraped into the side of a urinal, or
which probably
spray
wasn't
painted.
An Indian guy,
or spray painted,
carved into somebody's forehead.
Yeah. But I think seeing it on, because I don't know, I'm sure you've seen this, but there's Confederate flags that, like, massive ones when you go west in the state a bit. You'll see,
if you drive up, it's like 74. When you drive to like Lynchburg, like where Liberty University is, there's a giant one on the side of the highway.
Yeah. You head out that way, so like, and it's unnerving, but it's not the same thing as if you saw that exact same size and placement flag as a swastika. You'd be like, all right, turning around as fast as possible. Like, it's not, you know what I mean?
Me in particular, yeah.
Well, yes, yeah. Well, I don't know that I'd be much safer from actual literal Nazis, but that, my point being, that's the only difference I can see is our visceral reaction might be a little more like, holy shit.
And that's only a matter of which one has been normalized more.
Sure,
right? Like, it's not a difference in meaning; it's a difference in normalization. That so many people fly the Confederate one that you have less of a, oh my god, because you don't know for sure what the reasoning is.
Right, and that's a great point, because to your point, Sarah and I, this is years ago when we first moved down here.
When you got the swastika tattoo on your butt?
Yeah, we were driving up. We went up through Durham. We were just driving around. We ended up in Virginia, like right over the line, which is an hour-ish from here. And
did that by accident once.
And we were driving, just going for a cruise around, and we were in the middle of, like, farmland. And
we were in Durham and meant to be going towards Burlington, and we went north instead of south, and we're like, oh, we're in Virginia. We were in the wrong direction.
Yeah. No, we were just, Sarah and I have always done that. We've just kind of taken, rides because it's our, the car's our happy place. And we ended up in, farm, little, podunk area where it's mostly farms with occasional houses on the farms. And we see a clothing line out with some white clothes on it. And as we get closer, it becomes very apparent that they are Klan robes.
They're pointy clothes.
And I'm like, we need to get the fuck out of here. And Sarah goes, "Should I turn around in their driveway?" And I'm like, "Absolutely fucking not." Of like, that is a "you're not welcome" sign if I've ever seen one. And so like that gives me a more visceral reaction to what I would imagine a giant swastika would give me than the Confederate flag. But again, it's conditioning, it's social conditioning to some extent to be like, well, you know,
It's like a numbers game. Like you're sure that you got a
yeah,
dangerous
yeah,
person versus with a Confederate flag, maybe, or maybe
yeah.
they're just dumb
Or
or
maybe
just
they're
don't
just an
care.
asshole that
Yeah.
is not violent necessarily, but is like, fuck the libs, but like
My
they're not going to do anything.
grandfather had one, so I can have one. And I don't
Hmm.
care who thinks what and how you feel because I don't care about your emotions. But God forbid you do something that pisses me off because my emotions are important.
Yeah. God forbid you show a mixed race couple in a Cheerios commercial in 2015 or whatever year that came out, and Million Moms March went 4,000 people strong on it.
Those 4,000 million moms.
Yeah. Anyway, so that made me, yeah, I've just been kind of like, oh, the hate speech stuff. And I will say, so we're recording a double for everybody that doesn't know, and tonight. And so the other topic is kind of closely related because
It's love
uh
speech.
yeah, no,
What is
it's
your
not.
love
No.
language, man?
No, it's about being self-aware of like the image that you present to the world, essentially. And the reason why I came up with that one is that last night Logan and I had this conversation, and he said something to me about how I have a certain look that can be intimidating. Like I think he was talking about one of his friends or something, or like maybe when I chaperoned, that like when I approach people, because I'm a big, hairy, heavy dude,
Ugly guy.
I approach
I'm
people.
lying. If you're not watching the video, he's cute as a button. He's a big guy, but he's cute as a button.
I approach people with a certain level of like, I don't want to intimidate or scare them, so I'm a little more
Are we doing the
careful.
next topic now? Is that what
No,
it
no, no,
is?
no. It is related. So anyway, so he brought that up, and I said, yeah. I said I always joke that I know that I look like I have stereotypical racist face, but I'm not a
Well, you do
racist.
look like you're from Massachusetts.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, that's the same thing. It's literally the same thing.
yeah. Anyway, that was the point. So a little preview of what we're
A
going to
little
talk about.
preview of it. Okay, listen next week.
Yeah,
We'll be talking in about 45 minutes. You listen to it next week.
yeah. Unless you're watching live, because we don't have anybody watching the live chat right now. Oh no.
You know why? You know why? Because usually my daughter's watching it, but she is partaking of her first open mic. You know, she's performed in front of people before in various venues, but she's
Music
never
or
like
stand up?
signed up for an open mic. You know, and just like with random strangers and people who are there to see other musical acts, not her. The brewery that's right down from the bar where she works has an open mic, and she ran into the owner and said, "I want to go to your open mic, but I worked too late to sign up." And he said, "Oh no, I'll sign you up. Just come when you get off work." So
Nice,
she brought her guitar to work, and she's going over to do a song that she wrote and then two cover tunes.
nice,
Yeah.
nice. So hate speech. I like hate peach. That's funny. I just noticed that you had it something else before.
I
SP33CH.
had hate speech written in like leet before.
Yeah. Um. Anyway, so let's move on to the hate speech that's going on with. I
Fucking
mean,
Jews.
we've seen a lot of hate speech in the last 5 years against trans people.
Oh,
But I was also going to talk about Jews. Yeah.
fuck Jews. Fucking
And
trans Jews.
trans Jews. Yeah. Are we fucking trans Jews? Is that what we said? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I mean, if I wasn't married, sure.
No, so the reason I think that I kind of want to bring both of them in together is because the hate on both of those two groups is has been kind of used to pull people politically in the last. I mean, trans people for the last 5 years, but like right now we're seeing like this kind of political divide happening around, both parties are kind of splitting a little bit on this issue. So
So,
you've
both
got
parties
the
have different reasons to be anti-Semitic, which is
well,
nice.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. And so you also have I would say that you almost have you get on the right, I think it's Zionists and anti-Semites, and that's the split. That's the complete split. On the left, you have some anti-Semitism, some anti-Zionism, some Zionism. And so we are like a little differently fractured on that issue than say the Republicans, but it and I think also it changes things. So when you see anti-Zionism on the right, it is almost exclusively anti-Semitic anti-Zionism, and on the left, those things are separate, and that is confusing a lot of people because you have this.
I think a lot of it is sloppy anti-Semitism. I'm so anti-Zionist that I'm automatically blaming anyone Jewish without thinking about the rationality of what I'm saying right now.
On
and
the
they
left,
and they would argue that they don't mean it anti-Semitically, but they'll still say, "What do you think about it?" I'm like, "Well, why are you asking me? Because I'm Jewish? That's anti-Semitic, right there. Just that thing I have more of an opinion than someone else. I mean, I do because I have cousins in Tel Aviv, but it's not because I'm Jewish that I would have an opinion on the issue.
Right.
It's not a Jewish issue. Netanyahu is Trump of Israel. So, like, if you're blaming all Jews, you got to blame all Americans for what Trump does, even yourself, because it's no different."
Mm-hmm. I agree, and it's that is kind of where I think we're having this problem with. There is a lot of people who cannot we're seeing and I'm going to screw his name up again, Mamdani, that just won the primary.
The mayor of the next mayor of New York.
I hope he is. I hope you're right.
Well enough.
But
I haven't paid attention to New York politics until he won. I was like, oh, cool! Like I didn't know anything about it before he won.
He's a great example of someone who it seems is anti-Zionist or has but is very very because he gets asked about it everywhere, is like not anti-Jewish, not anti-Semitic, and we have to keep on the left, the people who are anti-Zionist have to keep clarifying that it's not about Jews.
It's just a matter of language you use and you talk about it. If you say, the administration in Israel, if that's the way you phrase it every time, then it's clear what you're talking about. The administration in Israel.
Right.
When you start saying Israel is doing it, it's not wrong because the country is doing it, but it gets closer to, I'm not sure who you're blaming now. It's not as clear what you mean.
Yeah, and then you get into the Ted Cruz of it all, where Israel equals the Jewish people. Like Ted Cruz kind of, when he was, I hate Tucker Carlson, and I'm going to give zero credit to Tucker Carlson on this because I don't think Tucker Carlson is good faith. I don't think he is genuine in anything he says. But ultimately, he
got Ted Cruz to say what he was thinking.
That debate, basically Ted Cruz being like, anybody who supports Israel will be blessed. I choose to be blessed, and Tucker Carlson's one, I think, genuine good point in that, not because I think that he's getting credit for a lot of shit he shouldn't get credit for. His genuine good point is, it's a 3,000-year-old book or 2,500, whatever the Old Testament is.
Our book's older, so we're good.
Yeah.
I mean, the stories were penned down orally before they were written, so
right. All of that stuff, all that, like that. When they say Israel, and that's kind of like saying like Democrats are the party of slavery. Like it's not. It is nonsense. I mean, it's significantly further separated by time.
Yeah,
but
the point is, like when they said that, they didn't mean the political nation of Israel. They meant the people.
Right.
They meant the Jewish people.
Israelites and Israelis are not the same thing, and that doesn't mean that's not an attack. That is a statement of what should be considered fact. Israelites in the Bible and Israelis of today are not the same thing. Just like ancient Persians and Iranians are not the same thing. Like political regimes have changed, dynasties have changed. In the
God
case
is
of
eternal. If God blessed us once, it's blessed forever.
And but I think
what he's not understanding is what it meant was be a friend to the Jewish people. It didn't mean be a friend to the current government of Israel. Like if you wanted to say, I'm going to do what the Bible said, they meant Jews when they said Israelites. That's what they meant. They didn't mean the country of Israel that took the name in 1948.
Right. And it's kind of like, okay, here's a better example than the Democrat. Well, maybe the Democrats one's a good example, but it's like, if somebody told us all 120 years ago that like, Tesla is the best thing for America. And they meant Nikola Tesla. And you named your car company Tesla, and we don't have to. We don't have to.
You don't get all the goodwill.
Yeah, and I'm not like even saying that about Israel to say like they're like fuck Israel. Like I'm not. I don't. I am personally not that well versed. I think it's what's going on.
His reasoning is faulty.
His reasoning is stupid.
Yeah.
I would argue that reasoning is stupid.
For me to say basing anything that because the Bible said so is stupid.
Sure,
to begin with.
Agreed. But like
because Magic Man in the Sky will bless me for my political position. It's
especially stupid by the Bible standard. It's kind of like there's certain things from the Bible that okay, whatever. That's not a great reason, but whatever. And then there's like, well, one man built a big old boat that carried everybody in it. Like that's dumber than some of the other shit. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that the bless the Israelites part is dumb. I'm saying making that comparison's dumb. Anyway, hopefully I covered my ass enough. But because I don't want to be accused of anything.
So before you were talking about like the history of anti-Semitism and become the growth. In the late 60s, the great composer Tom Lehrer, who is a math professor who wrote political satire, he had a song called National Brotherhood Week about how ridiculous it is. Like, oh, we all hate each other, year round, except one week we put aside our hate and we're friends with everyone. And one of the verses that I always loved was, the Protestants hate the Catholics, and the Catholics hate the Protestants, and the Hindus hate the Muslims, and everybody hates the Jews. Like that was in the 60s, and it ain't changed.
He's Jewish, right? Tom Lehrer?
I do not know, and I have never thought so.
Oh, I thought he was.
He didn't feel Jewish. I mean, he's good at math, but
I thought just because of how much he focused on.
Oh, he's still alive. He's 97.
Yeah, and did you see? Speaking of Jewish people, did you see who turned 99 a couple days ago? Mel Brooks. Yeah, when they announced Spaceballs 2 is coming out in 2027, I was like, wow.
Oh yeah, Tom Lehrer is from a secular Jewish family.
Okay, I was like, I could have sworn he was Jewish. Yeah,
like mine, secular Jewish.
Yeah, I liked one of the episodes recently. You said I said something about being. My mom wouldn't have cared as long as I was Christian. It didn't matter, what specific brand. And you were saying that Jews are like, we don't care if you believe in God, just stay Jewish.
I mean, nothing in the Ten Commandments say believe. It says like the first commandment is, "I am your Lord God, have no other God before me." It's like don't pick a different one. Like it's all about following the rules, not about what's in your heart. It's like Batman. What I do defines me.
Yeah. Who I do defines me.
Whom I do.
Whom I do.
I mean you,
Catwoman.
I mean you.
Oh. Rachel. Kim
the word is that my Batman impersonation is becoming more and more Pete Holmes doing Batman and less Christian Bale doing Batman.
Yeah. When we watched the Dark Knight trilogy with Logan a few months ago, because he got kind of into Batman for a little bit. I think he's still kind of into Batman. But we watched the trilogy, and at the beginning, he didn't want to watch it in order. He wanted to watch The Dark Knight, and then he loved it and wanted to watch the other ones. And we went, we're watching Batman Begins, and I was like, where are the drugs? And he's like, what? And then like 30 seconds later, where are the drugs?
Oh, Batman.
Swear to me.
Jacob used to say that all the time.
Nice.
Anytime he heard someone say "swear to God" like on TV or something like that, he'd go "swear to me."
Where's Rachel?
Yeah, there you go. There's no more hate speech. There's Batman. There's only Batman.
I will say I kind of hated the way that he spoke as Batman.
Well, that was how Batman would be if it was realistic. Because there's nothing more important than making comic book characters realistic.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea. The whole idea is it should be very realistic and gritty. Nobody wants escapism in their fucking comic books.
Yeah. Oh, so...
but there's a new Superman movie coming out, and it looks like it's going to be escapism, and I'm on board.
Oh, it looks amazing. I'm so excited. And the Fantastic Four looks... I feel like this is like the summer of 2008, where we've got a really good DC and a really good Marvel thing coming out, and it's so exciting.
they both look good. I'm hoping they both are as good as they look.
Yeah. So back to hate speech. So the reason I brought up trans,
let's talk Zack Snyder. Sorry,
trans people on that when we were before was, just the way that like we can conflate anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism. I think that a lot of it's unfortunate, but a lot of topics around the trans community, because I hate calling it the trans issue or the trans, what do they call it? The ideology. That's stupid. So talking about the trans community, because they are people. But one of the things that happens right now that I think is that when you have the legitimate questions about certain things, I understand why it gets conflated, because there's been so much bad faith that when people talk about the sports, trans people in sports, and I'm not a sports person, so I don't know shit about shit when it comes to that. But like I've heard a lot of trans people and pro-trans rights people saying like it should be a completely separate argument and they're like, there is room to talk about that, but they're making that the people on the right that want to disqualify transness, they are using that as an issue to try to make it the issue. And it's like, well, whether or not someone should be competing in, and sports are so wildly different in how you compete, like, but like making that the issue that covers all transness is a misdirection. And in that process, what you're doing is the people who genuinely are like, I'm fine with trans people, I just want to make sure that sports are fairly represented or whatever. The ones who are in good faith, who are trying to like correctly figure that out, will get somewhat drowned out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, it's what's interesting is most people who want to have that conversation don't give a shit about women's sports for any other conversation. Exactly. They only care when they can say it's about trans sports issues. And the other thing is like, my question is someone who thinks and claims that, oh, well, men are just going to say they're trans so they can compete in women's sports and win. I'm like, but would you? Like, are you going to live your life as a woman so you can compete in women's sports because you'd win? It's like, are you saying you would do it, or you think just other people would do it, not you? And what do you think they're winning if nobody watches women's college sports? Like, what? Like, your whole point is that that it's easier. So what do you think they're winning?
So my argument would be, for if you hear someone say what you just said about like, like, oh, the people are just going to become trans so they can win in sports
and go to the bathroom.
Like, yeah,
things I want to do.
The bathroom part, I don't have an address. I don't have the same address for, but this one, you just say to them, "Have you heard of lady ballers?" And if they, there's a good chance that the answer is yes to that question if they're the ones spouting that bullshit, right? So then you say, okay, do you know why lady ballers exists as like a fictional narrative and not a documentary? Do you know what I'm talking about or no?
I don't. I mean, I assume they're women who ball.
Lady Ballers was Ben Shapiro's company, made a movie it's scripted. It's not a documentary about 5 or 6, whatever amount of guys it takes to get I don't know anything about sports. However many guys
for basketball.
However many
without having people for substitutions,
okay.
But
sure,
5 each on the court.
So they get 5 people. They make a team. I think it's high school. I could be wrong on that. Of 5 people and substitutes that are guys that pretend to be trans so that they can win at basketball. Win a bunch of stuff at basketball. Ben Shapiro came out and like, this is such an admission that he doesn't even understand. Didn't understand, but like, he came out and said they originally wanted to do a documentary about the subject, but they couldn't find any examples of it happening to make a documentary.
It's made up
because it's made up. So like, by his own admission. So that would be my argument.
It's like trans people are such a small percentage. Now, what percentage of those are playing sports and transition at the age to play sports, in whatever school you're complaining about?
Well, also, or at any level that means anything.
Right, I'm saying, if you're saying it's high school sports or college sports, how many people are transitioned at that age
Yeah.
Okay, then that small group, how many of them are playing sports? Because frankly, in college, I shot pretty good from the free throw line, but if I went up against the Lady Wolfpack, they would have kicked my ass up and down the street. Like it didn't
Oh
make
yeah.
a difference that I was a guy. They still better basketball players than me.
Yeah. I at any point in my life, because I've never been athletic, not just because I'm a overweight 40-year-old, but at any point in my life, I don't think that there is a sport that I could have been competitive at if I was playing only against women. Like, I mean, I suppose if there was like women's wrestling in high school and it was just like a bunch of girls who weren't particularly competitive about it, like who just like, oh, it's a good way to
Right.
get exercise, maybe, but like not any,
would I have
no,
been
no
better
longer
in many
elite.
sports than the average female my age, whether girl or woman, depending on the age I was. The
Yeah,
average, yeah, but someone who's playing on a team is not average. They're better than
right,
average,
right,
and they would kick my ass.
yeah, oh yeah, and
And I'm not all
on
sports. I think when I say sports, some sports. Like I'm
yeah,
not better than a tennis player. The fact that I'm big and strong, I serve really well because I'm tall. But that any any I'm no better than any other tennis player. Man or woman doesn't make a difference
yeah,
at our level. Professionals, it might make a difference at that level, but it doesn't make a difference at amateur level to me.
yeah, yeah. It I forget where I saw this recently, but Thomas brings it up all the time on Dear Old Dads. These ideas of men getting asked these questions about when and it's never
Could you
in
take a female
regards,
boxer?
right? It's
I
never in
could.
regards to the trans issue directly, at least, but it's clearly linked that like 90% of guys are like, oh yeah, I could take a woman's UFC fighter, and it's like, no, you fucking
And
couldn't.
that's why they think people pretend to be trans for sports because they think they automatically win. It's like
Yeah,
you would
oh yeah,
automatically. I mean, maybe if you were just barely not good enough to be
yeah,
in the male professional league or college league or whatever, you'd be better than average in a women's league at the same
oh
age.
yeah,
But you wouldn't be the best
yeah.
necessarily. There's no reason to think you'd be the best.
Yeah. I think if I found a martial arts place nearby here and said, okay, I'm going to find a 40-year-old woman, so a woman that's my same age who is, relatively large, like height wise for being a woman, and has been doing it, and she's not competitive, she's just doing it for exercise and has been doing it for, let's say, a year or more. And I were to go pick a fight with her in it, she would kick my ass, I would imagine. I mean, I have like a reasonable amount of strength. I'm not particularly agile. I'm not particularly.
Well, there's a reason that things like fighting are weight classes. Like it's
Yeah,
not
well, true,
gender, it's weight
true.
class. Like there's a
That's
certain amount of muscle. Like there's a reason. Like
yeah.
you say, well, I could take a woman. Well, not if you're in the same weight class. Then it would kind of wash that out, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm. Well, and that also solves some of the problem when you're talking about the trans people in sports.
Yeah, I mean, team sports don't generally have weight classes, but for those
No.
kind of competitive ones, the weight class
Yeah.
washes a lot of that out.
Yeah. Did you watch? I know you don't love John Oliver, but did you watch the John Oliver thing about? I'm forgetting the woman's name. Again, Riley Gaines.
No, I hardly even get exposed. YouTube doesn't even bother showing me his videos because I don't generally watch.
Okay. Yeah, he did like a whole episode about Riley Gaines. You know who that is?
It's Riley Gaines.
She was a competitive, I think college level competitive swimmer. I don't think she is anymore. Who made it she made it to headlines and then became kind of a pundit, an anti-trans pundit or anti-trans people in sports, because she tied for 5th place with a trans athlete, and they technically, like in the photos, counted her as 6th instead of 5th because they couldn't have both of them like at the same. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then she was next to her.
I could have been
So
the 5th best if someone wasn't better than me.
yeah, yep. And so like it's hard to like get behind that too. Like whenever I love, there's a Instagram account that I see doing it every once in a while. I will share it if I can find it. Where anytime they post like trans woman beats or biological male. A lot of times they'll say biological male beats 5,000 marathoners in Manchester, England, and then they're like, let me correct that headline. Trans woman comes in 33,000th out of 40,000
Trans
people.
woman has average time.
Yeah. And so like they're like
unless they're last, it's not right. They just have to be last.
Yeah, exactly. There's also I'm going to send it to you next time I see it. If I haven't already sent it to you, but there's this great account, and it's Daily Mail, which is, I guess, the British version of Fox News. Essentially, I don't follow the British media as much, but it's this guy doing. He just does these videos where he's like, he takes headlines that are pretty innocuous, or like movies that are pretty innocuous, and he like makes them right-wing talking points. So it'll be like The Little Mermaid, not even the new one where there's actually controversy, just The Little Mermaid. Yeah. It'll be like, trans fish lures innocent young prince by not revealing her true identity.
Like Wizard of Oz, this immigrant comes to New Land, kills one of the leaders upon arrival.
The Goldilocks and the Three Little Bears. It's angelic blonde teaches three barbaric browns to eat porridge in a civilized manner. and I mean, that is the framing that we get on all this shit, especially when you start looking at the trans athlete thing, where it is like they came in 5,000 out of 10,000.
Was Jewish, though. I mean, Goldie is clearly a Jewish name, and Locks, I mean, come on, we got to go into it.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, but it was
just looking for a schmear.
Anyway, you want to start wrapping this one up?
Sure, I'll wrap this one up. Let me come here. Come in close, everybody. Can you see me? Can you see me? Now, if you can see me, it's because you're watching the video. And if you're watching the video, like the fucking video, okay? Like it. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell so you'll know when we release new videos. Interact with the video. Don't just like. Make a comment. Tell us your favorite hate speech word. Your favorite slur. Just go ahead and put it in the comments. Say, hey, Mike, you remind me of whatever your favorite slur is. Go ahead and do that in the comments. There's no repercussions.
I actually think that if you write it in the comments, that YouTube has an algorithm that automatically blocks your comment. Like if you write certain slurs. So you're saying that? I'm sure that.
So there are hundreds of comments on every one of our videos that have been blocked because of your profanity, people. So you need to stop using your racist comments so we can see. So we can see your comments. We know you're making 100 comments a day. We know. We can feel it in our heart of hearts. So stop using the slurs, okay? No more.
Get creative when you're insulting us.
Yeah. At least use synonyms so the system can't figure it out.
Yeah, use cinnamon.
Yeah, use cinnamon. So go ahead, make a comment, see how close you can get to being canceled, like the videos. That's all I'm asking. I'm not asking you to go to patreon.com/talkingaboutthebigstuff and give us gifts of money. I'm not. I wouldn't ask you to go to patreon.com/talkingaboutthebigstuff. Far be it from me to ask for money. I wouldn't do such a thing. Talk to that guy.
Anyway, I would love it if you were listening to us on any regular podcast platform. If you gave us a thumbs up, 5 stars, like whatever, and that would just be great. If reviews are helpful, anything to just kind of help us to reach more people.
Rig the algorithm.
Exactly. And if you did want to give us gifts of money, as Matthew kind of referred to earlier, you can go to patreon.com/talkingaboutthebigstuff, and there you're going to have 4 options. 1, you don't give us any money, but you still get to watch the live streams when they're happening.
And that means you hear everything that I say before Mike can edit it out.
Yeah. $1 will get you early access to the edited version. $3 gets you early access and a less edited version, and $10 gets you early access and the whole shebang, which sometimes is crazy. Tonight, not so much. You're just missing Matthew give his thumb a hand job. But yeah.
And all the different slur words that I used to edit out.
Oh yeah. And then so yeah, that's it for how you can support us. I do want to say, because I think Matthew mentioned it last week, but I have my debut novel coming out, and it is available for pre-order right now, and I will throw that up in the show notes. But it's called The Dinner Party. It is an exploration of sexual maturity, and I think that you will like it if you're listening to this podcast, especially if you liked our purity culture episode a year and a half ago.
Oh, I loved that one.
Maybe we'll have to revisit the issue, and it's just so I can plug the book. But yeah, thank you all for listening. And Matthew, do you have any last thoughts?
I want to thank you all for listening to us talk about the big stuff and for not calling me those hateful words anymore. I do appreciate that you stopped.
Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. It's just the beginning. If you have thoughts or questions or topics you'd like us to tackle in a future episode, drop us a line on our social media channels. Engage with this video when you are now watching it as a VOD on YouTube. Send us an email. We love hearing from our listeners, bringing us topics, because if you leave it up to the three of us, we're going to eventually be talking about underwater basket weaving. So we would appreciate you guys reaching out a little bit. Don't forget to subscribe to Talking About the Big Stuff on your favorite platform. Give us a 5-star rating. Engage with it. Criticize us. We need to grow and be better, and you're going to help us be there. You're going to help us get to that point. It really helps us more to reach out and also to keep the conversation going. Thank you for tuning in. We'll be back next week with more big ideas and more thought-provoking discussions. Until then, stay curious, stay informed, and keep talking about the big stuff.
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.